Hi, mystery writers. This is Write a Killer Mystery, where we learn to make a good mystery great. My name is Zara Altair, and today I want to talk about showing your reader the way. It's like being a tour guide for your story. First, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon for their support. They support my writing and this series on YouTube. So if you like the videos, please consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Okay, so show the way. You want to show the way for your reader. You immerse your reader in the story with actions, thoughts, and sensory details, and you pull your reader into the narrative, allowing them to feel as though they experience what happens instead of reading about what happens. This approach is the basis of what in fiction writing is called show, don't tell. Telling is exposition. It's keeping the reader at an intellectual distance while immersing them in the story. So when you show your reader, it allows them to feel what your character feels. And that's what you want to do. Sensory detail is your entry into showing. From sweat trickling down your hero's side to the sounds and smells and sensations of a jostling crowd, you focus on the details. It's what your character is feeling, what they're seeing, they're hearing, and they're tasting. When you activate your reader's senses, they become emotionally engaged. So the idea is to help the reader feel what your character feels. You used all the senses, but not necessarily at the same time. So you want to scatter the sensory details throughout a scene so your reader hears, tastes, smells, feels, and sees the scene by the end. But you scatter those little details among the actions and dialogue that are happening in the scene. You don't just plunk them out all at once. So let's look at the different ways you can approach showing details in your story. First is setting. You reveal only a few details at a time. Let the reader imagine what else surrounds your character. Plus, you'll keep from overloading them with a long narrative passage, so present just enough so your reader can draw their own conclusions about what else is there or what a character has left unsaid. I think the goal with showing is to help the reader draw their own conclusions, because that's bringing them into the story. So you work setting details naturally into the scene as your character interacts with the setting. You'll avoid it's called reader description fatigue, but you don't want to give them too much. They care more about the story than the description. So the description details you use bring them into the story rather than taking them out of the story with a long narrative passage. Better yet, you're transforming that scene from passive long description to active, because as your character interacts with the details in the setting, your reader is interacting with those details. So what about characters? Showing is the best way to gain reader empathy for your characters. You don't need to say your hero stands 6'6". Show him stooping to enter a low doorway or towering over another character. In fact, too many details about your character keep your reader from forming their own personal image. And so hints at scattered details will call on your reader to fill in the gaps, and that's what you want them to do. You want them to, in their imagination, fill in those gaps. So action is one of the best ways to show readers how your character interacts with other characters and the setting. So rather than telling your reader your heroine is a good judge of character, bring them along as she makes judgment calls about another character in a scene. And then, believe it or not, dialogue is another way that you can show. It's actually, you're showing superpower. Dialogue can show a character's experience, reveal their personality, and demonstrate their relationship to another character. So word choice is the key in character differentiation. So give each character a few words and phrases they favor, and even sentence structures only they use. So it's easy for your reader to go, oh, Jeff is speaking, because they understand Jeff's vocabulary and the way Jeff talks. A character may use elaborate sentences because they want to sound erudite, and another may use run-on sentences as they rush through to get out everything they want to tell. And also, characters may have a different conversational tone depending on their relationship with other characters and the characters in the scene. Exploring changes in tone can take some practice, but your reader will notice the tone shifts and feel your character responding to the situation. So this is especially true with your protagonist, your main character. For mystery writers, that's your sleuth. They're going to have a different tone in their speech when they talk to different people, because they may or may like that person, they might be exasperated. So their speech pattern is going to change. This takes practice, but just keep doing it. So as your characters speak to each other, establish phrasing that reflects both their overall relationship and the particular conversation. In one scene, two characters may act friendly and cooperative, and in another, they may disagree. So you're going to show that through the words that they use in their dialogue. It may seem self-evident, but the phrasing you use and the actions your characters take and their interaction with the setting all combine to pull the reader in. Even when you think about character goals, sometimes you want to be direct with character goals and tell the reader, I'm going to get him no matter what. But especially for internal goals, you can show your character rethinking an attitude or treating another character in a different way without explicitly telling your reader what the goal is. Readers are smart. Never forget that. Readers are smart. They will notice and understand the shift. And also, subtext is a perfect vehicle for showing. When your reader understands your character's motivations, they know when your character leaves something unsaid or refrains from one of their normal actions. You don't need to spell everything out. And I think that's the key to showing. As you use the details, your reader gets to fill in those gaps, and in a way, they're making the story their own. And that's what you want to have happen, because when the reader makes the story their own, they're engaged, they want to know what happens, they keep turning the pages. So showing your reader the way into your story requires engagement, and engagement builds emotional connection with your characters and your story. Your reader may not be able to explain why they are drawn into your story or why they care about your characters, but you will know. So practice showing in your story. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for being here. I'll be here next week with more tips on mystery writing. And I want to thank Audible for sponsoring Write a Killer Mystery. And if you haven't experienced listening to stories narrated live, it's a fabulous experience. And if you click the link below, you can get a 30-day free trial for Audible and experience for yourself how wonderful it is to listen to stories. All right, thank you, and keep writing.